Welcome in, everyone. This is your Chiefs pregame show. This is Kingdom Kickoff. I'm Noah Gronniger, being joined, as always, by former Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman from 83 to 92, former KCTV5 Chiefs pregame host. That is Rich Baldinger. And no, the rumors are not true. We did not kick Clint off this show for his Browns pick in week one. He's gallivanting in Boston, went to the Mizzou Boston College game, and hopefully, Rich, he's going to your recommendation, the Daily Catch.
Well, I'm telling you, there's nothing better than Daily Catch, Noah. There's only 5 tables in the restaurant. It's not bigger. It's probably about the same size as the closet that's behind me right now. But I'll tell you what, the calamari meatballs and the red wine, I'll go through the whole menu with you after the podcast because it is spectacular. And I've cashed a lot of game checks there at that place. So one of my favorites when I'm there, no matter what time of the day, I knock on the door and I go have a nice meal. So it's always nice to visit Boston, have some good Italian food.
Absolutely. And let's get through this thing because I want to hear that menu. I want to hear every item on there, my friend. But before we get into kind of what happened last week against the Ravens and this week here in a few hours, here in an hour about, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers coming up. But man, Marty Schottenheimer's birthday this past Thursday, September 23rd. He would have been 78 years old. And we lost him, sadly, February 8th of this year. 21 years ago, we lost Eric Thomas on the same day. Now, Clint and I were fortunate enough to make a film for Marty. We got 17 of his former players together, and they shared their well wishes, their memories, and we got a hold of Pat Schottenheimer. She invited us down to their home in North Carolina, and we presented the film to Marty there in person. So I want to share the trailer with you, with everyone watching, and at the end, you're going to see a little reaction that Marty had after watching the film. So here's our trailer, one play at a time, a film for Marty.
This is a game of the heart. A game of being a man. Let's go.
You certainly have impacted my life. I mean, I got all the memories right behind me, and I reflect on them every day. And you played a key role in making this happen.
It was just an honor to play for you, Coach. You were the perfect coach at the perfect time.
You gave me the type of support that a father would give.
We're all better for knowing you, Coach. We're all better for the lessons that you taught us.
Today I'm wearing my Hall of Fame shirt, as you can see, because I had a Hall of Fame coach.
I remember many times you talking about doing the right things, doing the little things, grabbing Oren Rowe.
Because of you, you brought the best out of me, and I was able to have the career I did have.
The year I spent in Kansas City with you as the head coach was certainly one of the best years of my life.
Coach Marty, Bernie Kosar here. Words can't describe the influence and effect that you've had on me, not only just in football, but as a person, as a man.
You motivated and inspired us to dig a little deeper, and do more, give more, and be more.
With a touchdown by Davis.
What?
Willie Davis, unbelievable.
We got our people. Let's light the fuse and kick some ass.
One play at a time for as long as it takes.
Every time you walk out that door to play the game, doesn't matter the arena, you expect to win.
Do not underestimate the power of the human will.
Light the ignition. Let's get this rocket ship going up now.
There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam.
You can. You will. You believe. You believe. You believe.
One play at a time. It's like life. You live today.
So right there, that was just a little bit of our film that we did for Marty, and it was great getting to meet him and tell him thank you for everything he did for us, bringing football back to Kansas City, bringing winning football back here, and really making us sports fan and leading Clint and I on this journey that we're on today in sports media. Rich, what are some of your memories and stories that you have of your time with Marty Schottenheimer?
Well, you know, the one thing I always say to people, there's nothing that I can't do now. If you could survive a Marty Schottenheimer Thursday afternoon practice during the season, you could run a marathon backwards and still make it. Marty, one of the toughest men I've ever met, but he had a way of doing things, and I believe it brought out the toughness in you. Either you were going to be like him or you weren't going to be with him. So the people that were on his team were people that believed in what he said. Listen, you know, you always have your disagreements with coaches, what they do, maybe call here and there. But, you know, deep down inside, this guy believed. He was a type of guy that if you got into a barroom fight, if you had 10 of him next to you, you'd knock out every Mike Tyson in the world. That's what Marty was to me. And, you know, there were so many good people with him. You know, add Carl Peterson there. And the one thing I can say to you, Noah, is, hey, they gave me a job. They said, Richard, we're going to put you on the field because we know you're going to get it done. Maybe it's not going to be pretty, but I know you're going to get it done. And I've always believed in that philosophy. Give somebody a chance. Let them do it. Let them fight and scrap. And believe me, if you can get 11 guys going in the same direction, rowing that, or like Timmy Grunhard said, you're going to win some football games. And he did. He did win his game, 7th most in the National Football League. It's a record that, you know, will stand for a while.
Absolutely. And we're hoping to get him in the Hall of Fame one day. I think it's a shame. It's a crime that he's not in already. But Rich, we've got to move on here. This is our Chiefs pregame show. And man, what has gone on these last 2 weeks with the Browns and the Ravens? I mean, I want to throw this up here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the film series Rush Hour starring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. They've had 4 of them. They gave me a sneak peek at Rush Hour 5, and I'm going to throw this up here right now. It's not starring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. It's starring Nick Chubb and Lamar Jackson. Week 1, Cleveland Browns rushed for 153 yards. Last week, Baltimore, 251 yards. A lot of that, Lamar Jackson. How do we fix this run defense? Can it be fixed?
I think it can. You know, it's going to take our offense competing all the way through on the games too. We're going to have them follow through. But there's some issues up front. We've had some injuries again up front. So guys are playing different positions. Chris Jones playing more defensive end, the defensive tackle. And I'll make it known now, I think he needs to be inside. That's where he's the most devastating. I think he's a better player. But right now, with where we are in the defensive line, he's going to stay outside. But, you know, it's a lot of little things, Noah. It's little things. It's not like, you know, if you look at that Baltimore game, they ran the ball 41 times, right? It was maybe 1 or 2 runs at the end of the second quarter, big ones. But overall, it was mostly 5, 8-yard runs. So it was a lot of little things we weren't doing, like maybe stepping in the right direction, run fits, pad level, you know, hands, things that you can get done. And you know, it's great that you opened this show with Marty, because the one thing Marty always told me is, he said, just start with one thing. You come out today, just think of one thing. Don't worry about anything else. Take one thing, write it down on a 3x5 card, look at it before you start practice. And if you do that one thing, the next day it's easier to do something else because you don't have to think about the thing you did the day before. So that's what they need to do. And don't worry about anything. Just live in the moment, do your job. And when Bill Belichick says that, it's true, because you just have to start with the little things. And right now, defensively, we're not doing that. And I attribute this, though, to Noah, not to be long, and I attribute this to camps. I think summer camp, there's not a lot of contact, and it just takes time for these teams to catch up. And some do it quicker than others. Hopefully, our defense gets some of that together today against a struggling team. I will tell you where, in that offensive line for the Chargers.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Chiefs, they've been porous in run defense. They've also not been able to run the football themselves. And we're going to look at a few of Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's numbers here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Cleveland, 14 carries for 43 yards versus Baltimore, 13 carries for 46 yards. We all know about that game-ending fumble, but he's averaging around 3 yards a carry. That's not good enough. Is it Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Is it the offensive line? Is it a mixture of both? And how do we get that fixed? And can we get that fixed? Same question to you right there.
Well, I think Andy Reid just knows that he made more of an early effort in the Baltimore game to get Clyde Edwards going, got him the ball. But we all know a running game just takes some time. You just got to kind of get the feel for it. What's the best play going? Where are you going? You know, you look at the Baltimore game. What was the one play that worked the best for them when you look at it was running the OT, the counter OT play. That's where they got the best run fits and opened up the most yardage. So for the Chiefs, I think I don't know if we're ever going to be like that team, because this is a passing team. It's built around Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey. When you have those type of people that can get those big chunk plays for you, it's so explosive so quickly. So I just wish they could continue to get Clyde Edwards involved in this game, and maybe not so much running game. Let's get him in passing game. Let's put him in the slot. Let's throw the ball. Let's get him mismatch and, our swing passes. He showed a couple in the Baltimore game how he did well. So I think there's different ways of getting him involved. But I think always this running game for the Chiefs will never be like other teams because we just don't do enough of it. And as a former lineman, though, and I'm going to tell you, sometimes no matter what you do in practice, the defense doesn't quite play that way. You got to get a comfort level. The backs have to get a comfort level and how the whole scheme is going. And once you do that, then things tend to click. And that's why running games, it's always the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, where they just show themselves, and teams just take control of the games.
Well, a couple last things here on the Baltimore game, and then we'll go head first into the Chargers here, as it is about 30 minutes away as we look at the clock. So, but against Baltimore, Tyreek Hill, I know they showed it there on the game that he had double coverage a lot of the game. They said, we're taking Tyreek out of this game. He had 1 run for 15 yards, 3 catches for 14 yards. Do you think it's okay that the Chiefs said, okay, they're taking Tyreek Hill out of the game, we're not going to be able to get him a lot of targets? Or do you think they need to find different ways to get the ball in his hands, some screens, some more end arounds, different ways to get the ball than saying he's going to have his 3 catches, 1 run, and that's good enough. We'll just focus on other people that are open and don't have that coverage.
Robinson, Hardman, they all had some catches in the games, of course, too. They stepped up to good things. But I agree with you, Noah. I think with somebody like Tyreek Hill, now, if he's like any other receiver in the National Football League, okay, he steps aside because they're double covering him. But Tyreek is a type of guy that touches the ball, and he maybe be one of maybe 3 guys in the National Football League that every time he touches the ball, it's going to the house probably. The chances are it'll be a touchdown. So I agree with you. I would like to get him different ways. So if they're going to double cover him over the top, let's put him in the slot. Let's run some scissor routes. Let's do end arounds. Let's do jailbreak screens or throwback screens where maybe the defense, if they step one way, one way, the wrong way, and Tyreek's going the other way, buddy, it doesn't, it's not a 1 yard difference. It's a 5 yard difference, a 10 and 20. So he's so dynamic, so many different ways when he touches ball. He gives such good effort. I would have to agree with you on that. I would like to find ways, put him in the backfield, and split backs or whatever you do, misdirection. I just think that if defensively, if you're not in perfect place for him, he's going to make a big play every time for you.
Yeah, and the Chiefs made it 35-24 with 6 minutes and 50 seconds left in the third quarter against the Ravens. That means they didn't score again for the last 21 minutes and 50 seconds of the game. Everybody wants to talk about the defense, and rightfully so. But what about this offense and the dry spell that they went through? Of course, Mahomes had his interception. I think that was more desperation to not let the defense back on the field. And then the Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble when the Chiefs were driving to win the game at the end.
And a lot of people complain Patrick shouldn't have thrown that ball. Well, if you go back to the Kelsey touchdown, watch how Patrick throws the ball on the sideline. He contorts his upper body and wings it back. Every NFL coach is going, please, I'm hoping my players don't watch Patrick this week again because, what he does skill set wise is just off the charts. Every week it's something special. So I don't worry about Patrick. You're going to have 1 or 2, though. It's just the nature of the game. I just didn't like where we ended up punting one time, and then, of course, we had the turnover. So you look at the last 3 drives, you had the interception, the punt, and then the fumble. And that's what I'm saying. The team's got to be able to finish ways. Offense is going to have to continue to move chains. Whether you're just kicking field goals, you're going to have to put points up because this defense, the issues you have, it's not something I think you do overnight. You got to build confidence. So for the next couple weeks, especially as we get into this division, how much better people getting in the West, this offense has got to find a way to really pick up the slack so they come away with victories.
Yeah, absolutely. And this game should be won through the air. We know that the Chiefs don't run the football well, averaging just over 3 yards a carry. The Chargers aren't running the football well either, just under 4 yards a carry. So this is going to be kind of on Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert's shoulders. A lot of people saying Justin Herbert is going to challenge Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be there in the AFC West, rivaling the Chiefs all the way. Let's look at their numbers through the first 2 weeks, kind of Mahomes versus Herbert here. Pretty similar in yards there. Patrick Mahomes has a much better completion percentage. That 6% doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. 6 touchdowns to 2 touchdowns. And Justin Herbert has 3 interceptions already. And Justin Herbert has gone against the Washington football team. They've got a good defensive line, not really known for their secondary. And the Dallas Cowboys, we all know the problems they had last year on defense. didn't make a lot of changes in that secondary. They did at the linebacker spot. So he's already got 3 interceptions, only 2 touchdowns. I'd expect more from him so far. So what are we looking at in Mahomes versus Herbert coming into this game today?
I guess we'll have to start with the hair. I guess Justin Herbert trying to bring in that. The one thing about this Justin Herbert, I'm going to tell you what, you're a wide receiver, if you're anybody catching the football from him, you better tape metal on your fingers because this guy has got the rocket for an arm. How he throws over the top. And believe me, the biggest issues for them right now, the 2 things, is penalties and red zone. And this red zone issue has haunted the Chargers since Phillip Rivers' last couple years. I mean, I don't know what it is, but last week they had the game won, and then they had the touchdown call back because of a motion penalty. So you had the penalties, you had the red zone woes. That's really cost them here in this first couple of weeks. I'm not worried about Austin Eckler. I mean, he can do some things up front well. The question they're going to have over there is Bulaga's out at right tackle. I think they got that guy Storm Norton playing the right tackle spot. So that was a real struggle for him last week. But the thing you got to know about Herbert is this is a guy you cannot blitz. If you look at his numbers last year as a rookie and see the way the touchdowns he threw against the blitz, he's a guy you can hit him in the mouth with a freight train and he still fires missiles across the middle of the field. So this is a place where we're going to have to make sure we match up well with coverage, especially tight end matchup with Sorensen. That's where they're going today, across the middle. They give this guy any time at all. He can put the ball anywhere on the field, and that's where I looked at maybe there's some mismatches today going into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes was at a golf tournament earlier this summer, and a fan heckler yelled out, "Better watch out for Justin Herbert this year." And I have a little clip of that. So let's see just Patrick Mahomes' reaction and how worried he is about Justin Herbert coming for his throne.
Watch out for Justin Herbert next year. I'll see it when I believe it. Yeah.
So Patrick Mahomes isn't really worried about Justin Herbert. We'll see how it plays out today. But let's go to the inactives today. As we mentioned, Frank Clark is not going to be in today. Neither is Charvarius Ward. That's kind of a surprise there with his quad. But on the other side, the Chargers are missing a starting corner. Chris Harris Jr. is going to be out. And I'm going to let you pronounce that linebacker's name there for the Chargers, Rich. We'll just sit back and listen to that. No, I'm kidding there. But man, what do you think about
I'll just call him. I'll just call him Big A. I think that might be the best way to go on that one. Listen, buddy, I've been announcing booths sometimes. I've butchered some names in my career. So I asked Marty if he could help me with that, and even he said sometimes. Yeah. That's why he didn't get in the announcing business either. Sometimes someone comes across. So no, I mean, listen, the Chargers, they've got some issues today, but listen, like Joey Bosa up front, they're playing a 3-4 front, so you got the odd man. So anytime you got to block a nose tackle for your center, it's a different situation. So up front's going to be a challenge. Our offensive line has got to continue to come together. No, last week, again, some of those running plays that maybe could have been, like the example, the fumble. The play that we ran was a split flow zone, okay? So the front side – Thuney on that, the left guard, it looked like he started inside, then worked back outside. So there was some penetration. And it caused. And then the backside, all we asked Kelsey to do is not a devastating block, but just make contact. If he just makes contact and Clyde Edwards is able to cut back, that play is gone for 25 yards. But instead, 2 guys failed, and then again, you have the mistake and the fumble. So you just can't do that in this national football. And that's, I think, the one thing that was unsettling last week's game is Baltimore. I'll make this point quick. This is a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes like that. They've overcome this. And Andy was first here before Patrick. We tend to have those issues. Since Patrick's taken over, we haven't had those issues. We were able to make big plays, but we didn't make dumb plays. And dumb plays cost you quicker than not making big plays. And that's what seemed to happen right at the end. Those last couple drives just didn't get some things done. And, against Baltimore, hey, they hung tight and they were challenged. They needed to win and they got it done.
Yeah, and I want to ask you a little bit more about this offensive line because they completely revamped it in the offseason. A lot of Chiefs fans, a lot of pundits were saying, man, this could be a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. You look at the overhaul, what they've done. But, man, Joe Thuney's making about $80 million over that contract. Orlando Brown's going to be coming up for a deal this offseason. Is he going to earn a deal? Are they worth that? So far, I know it's only 2 weeks, but what are we seeing out of Joe Tooney or Orlando Brown specifically? And then you can go through the rookies, Lucas Niang, Trey Smith, and Creed Humphrey.
Well, I think Brown is, overall, again, this is a different style offense. It's a pocket more than what he was in Baltimore, where you have a quarterback that forced defensive linemen to really stay in the lane. They wouldn't let him go inside, outside. And I think that's one of the things that hurt us last week, too. When you play against Lamar Jackson, you just have to make sure that you cannot step out of your lane, because he'll find that crease. And if he does, he's gone. There's nobody better than him in the National Football with that. So, anyways, you look at the line, Tooney, I think he's been solid. I think our inside three were solid pretty much overall in Baltimore. Patrick's had the ability to step up in the pocket. He seems to really be thinking about, let me step up, make the throw downfield. If I do scramble, let me step up and get around, instead of kind of go all the way around those wide rushing defensive ends where you get pushed to the side and you don't have a chance to make the throw. So there are some things, I think, in some of the run games. I'll just technically, some of the slip blocks, combination blocks, we haven't not been very on the same level. It's been, Howard Mudd always had some choice words for that, my former line coach. I won't say them here, but I just think we got to get in a better rhythm. Sometimes we're not in the right position, and so we don't get the best push, and somebody comes off a block late or things like that. So even, like the last with the fumble, I mean, we didn't have the proper count. Were we supposed to reach, or were we inside? So there wasn't communication. So that's a point there too. 5 new guys. There was a problem with communication and it caused a turnover. So you add that to the list of things, and that's why I just think it just takes time, week in and week out, playing together, all on the same page, looking at the film. What's the mistakes? Okay, this is how I block this guy. Then when I make this step, I need you to do this. And until you do it a few weeks in live action, sometimes it just takes a while to catch up.
We'll talk about some of the problems that the Chargers offense is going to present to the Chiefs defense, especially without Charvarius Ward that we learned this morning. He's inactive. So it's going to be Mike Hughes, L'Jarius Sneed, probably Rashad Fenton sliding into that slot role. So we've got Keenan Allen at receiver.
Yeah.
We know what he can do. Mike Williams, Jared Cook. That's 6'2", 6'4", and 6'5" right there. And then Jalen Guyton's a name to watch out for as kind of the Chargers' third wide receiver. And we talked about Austin Eckler. What kind of problems are they going to present with Justin Herbert at quarterback?
And even Justin Jackson running the ball too. I like this kid. He can scat too on that too. Herbert's ability to put the ball down the field. That's the thing. First of all, this guy can hit the deep passes. I talked about the velocity of the football. I mean, there's not many. I mean, when this guy can spin the pigskin now, so he can put it into tight windows and things. They're going to want to get a running game going. I don't think they want to stand there and try to pass protect all that. As I talked about, with Blog out at right tackle, the 2 guys, Norton, and if he goes out, you got Pipkins as another backup. And both of those guys, believe me, probably more practice squad guys than actual players, so that's an issue for them. And it was almost proved costly in the Dallas game and everything for him on a lot of plays. So, but Herbert's able to get away. But I just think defensively, we're going to have to match up. When you lose Charvarius Ward, who's shown that he can go man-to-man coverage and run with receivers, anytime you lose somebody like that on the field, it's going to maybe hurt you a little bit. But, I'm looking for guys. I think we got to take advantage up front of an offensive line. I really do. I think when you have struggles the way they are, you got a rookie at left tackle. I think you got to say, okay, if we have to use the blitz today, let's use it, because we think the 5 guys up front maybe aren't that good. I know Herbert throws well against the blitz, but that might be the only way we get to the quarterback today.
Yeah, and with that, let's go to your keys for week 3. Your keys to success for the Chiefs to come away with a victory here at home against the Chargers.
Well, listen, let's stay on the game all 60 minutes. We talked about during the show here. Look, those last 3 drives for the Chiefs going. You have an interception, you have a punt, and then you have a fumble. Just can't afford this against a defense that's struggling, especially against the run. And I think today you just hammer the rock. If Joey Bosa's out over there, I think Justin Jones inside is definitely out in this game. So I just think this is where maybe you go and let's get Clyde Edwards going. Let's let that big offensive line that we have, those 5 new guys, let them get in a rhythm, and let's go ahead and attack this team. I mean, this is, I think, some of the issues you saw Dallas. They got some great push up front. I think we can do the same thing. On the other side, when the Chargers have the ball, listen, it's time for our front four to step up. I know Frank Clark's out, But listen, when you see what the Chargers have at right tackle, I talked about last week, Villanueva going over the left side. I think he's done, but we didn't do anything against him. I think it's time for these front four guys in both pass rush and against the run to start doing the little things right, so you that. And then red zone defense. Listen, this is the worst team, the Chargers, in the red zone and scoring points. We're probably the last right now in red zone defense. Whoever wins that battle today is going to come away with a win today and it's this afternoon.
Yeah, we're going to be looking for those, and I'm going to be looking for the Chiefs to match up against those tall receivers and tight end in the red zone on defense. That's something the Chargers definitely have in their favor. Something I've wanted the Chiefs to go out and do, get a tall receiver, taller tight end. They've got Jody Fortson out there. They've added Noah Gray. I've wanted DK Metcalf instead of McCole Hardman. That's another conversation for another day. But I mean, we look at this game, and what is your prediction? I've got the Chiefs 31-28, a close game. It's going to go down to the wire. This is going to be a back and forth through the air game, Justin Herbert versus Patrick Mahomes. And in that case, every single time, 10 out of 10 times, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes if it's a game through the air and the Chiefs come away with the victory. What do you have, Rich?
I think I'm going to go ahead with the Chiefs 28-21. I think Chargers will find a way to get 3 touchdowns. As you said, they can air it out. But I think the mistakes on this team in the red zone, you've got new coaching staff going on over there. There's some issues up front. I think the Chiefs find a way to come away with victory on this one. But, you know, even in the victory, I just want to see things get better. I just think the level on one side of the ball is nowhere near. If you're talking even thinking about going back to playoffs, the way you're playing right now, you don't deserve it. You're nowhere going to be there. And I just think you need to start getting better quickly because, as I said, this AFC West has gotten better. It's much better. It's not going to be a walk through the park. It's going to be a walk through a landmines if we do not find out ways to get done. And I think for Coach Spagnuolo defensively, hey, if you've got to change things up, if you've got to change what you're doing up front or bringing blitzes, let's do it. But let's find a way to get after Justin Herbert. I don't want him to stand in the pocket and just wing the ball all day. Let's get him moving. Maybe we get some chances, get some turnovers.
Absolutely. The Chiefs really need this game because the Broncos have the Jets at home today. The Raiders have the Dolphins at home today. Tua Tagovailoa on IR, so Jacoby Brissett is in for the Dolphins. Looks like both of those teams can be 3-0. You never know in the NFL, but that's how it's looking right now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching your Chiefs pregame show. This is Kingdom Kickoff. I'm Noah Gronniger. That's Rich Baldinger. Until next time, go Chiefs.